Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
I want to hear, what are your guys' thoughts on Phase 4 so far? So far, I know we have Black Widow, we have No Way Home, we have Shang-Chi, we have Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and then we have Thor, Love and Thunder. A lot of people feel like Phase 4 has been a little confusing when it comes to the TV shows, kind of mixing in with the movies and not really necessarily following the same plot. How do you guys feel like Phase 4 has gone so far for the MCU? And I'll start with you first, Wickham.
So I think I understand a lot of the complaints about Phase 4. In comparison to Phase 1, which was sort of the same building stage in the Marvel Universe, it feels like really scattered with the shows and the movies. It doesn't have that same connective tissue that the first phase had. Like, I know I'm getting Avengers, I know this is going to happen, etc. But at the same time, I want to trust Marvel because I don't think completely replicating the interconnected Phase 1 is the answer. I think they're doing something much bigger than the Infinity Saga. I think they're building something much more, a much bigger story, you know what I mean? So I actually have some faith that they know what they're doing and that all this is going to pay off.
Well, it's Marvel's rebuilding period, right? So it's like they have to, the first three phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was almost like the perfect three-act structure, right? The beginning, for all the intro movies, Iron Man 1, Thor 1, Captain America, Hulk, and then we get the first Avengers movie. Phase 2 is like the perfect middle, the building up towards the action. We get teases of Thanos, and then Phase 3 is the perfect climax, like the perfect ending to the saga, literally with the beginning character Iron Man dying at the end of Endgame. So it's almost like a perfect bookend. So it's like, it kind of makes it tough to get fully invested into the new phase because it's like, now we're back at stage 1. Now we're back at like the rebuild. Now we're getting new origin stories of people like Shang-Chi, of people like Moon Knight, of people like Miss Marvel, and they're different formats and they're different in different capacities. Meanwhile, some of the legacy characters like Wanda are just becoming straight up bad guys. Doctor Strange is kind of teetering that line a little bit. So it's like, we don't really know where the motivations are. We don't really know where it's going. But to me, that makes it a little bit more exciting. Honestly, I think that we have a lot of potential for a lot of different directions in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. It seems like they have a very heavy street universe that they're developing with Black Widow, with Hawkeye, and with, almost, I feel like Shang-Chi a little bit, at least with the underground, the 10 Rings underground organization they're kind of alluding to. And then they have a lot of stuff on Earth, but then meanwhile they have a lot of stuff going on in space, right? With, the Guardians, Thor, all that stuff. So I think it's dope that we have a lot of different team ups. It seems like there's almost like a young faction of the Marvel Cinematic Universes that's building. So it seems like we're going to get some sort of young Avengers. We're going to get some sort of, West Coast, like we're going to get some sort of different kind of Avengers, like ground level Avengers. We're going to get like the Galactic Avengers. It seems like we're going to get a lot of different kinds of team ups, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it does feel like we're kind of splitting off into different subgroups. I also kind of like the dark angle of it too, with maybe Blade, Black Knight, maybe Moon Knight kind of teaming up there as well. I think that would be a dope team up too. I think my problem with Phase 4, if I'm being real, is that we just came off Endgame, right? And obviously Endgame is kind of this culmination, Tony Stark, Thanos, time travel, all this crazy stuff that you put inside one movie. But the thing I have about Endgame is that it's still the biggest movie of all time. Like, this is the biggest movie of all time. And the movie is 3 hours and 5 minutes. And I feel like, for some reason, and I told you this after Doctor Strange RB3, I just kind of feel like Marvel is in this weird phase of like, let's get a filmmaker and let them cook and then cut everything out of the movie and then just leave a couple scenes in. Because the last few Marvel movies to me have been like the most rushed Marvel movies I've seen. Love and Thunder and Multiverse of Madness felt like they were going so fast. Like the 3-act structure felt like ridiculously short, and that it was just kind of saved up for action scenes. And I don't want Marvel to fall into that trap of like, let's make a sub 2 hour movie so we can get as many runtimes inside the theater as we can, and so we can make as much money as we can. Because I feel like you're cutting up too much of a story, because I still believe there was so much more there in Thor Love and Thunder and in Multiverse of Madness that was cut out, that could have developed America Chavez, that could have developed Valkyrie for Love and Thunder. Like, there's just so much more there. And I don't want Marvel to just like be like, oh, let's just make rom-coms, an hour and a half rom-coms, 90-minute rom-coms. I don't want that. I want to see like an actual movie. I don't want to see like this cut up super fast version.
But see, I don't know why you putting that on Thor Love and Thunder like that, because Taika Waititi has literally come out multiple times and says, "Oh, this is my cut. This is my cut. They didn't make me cut anything. This is what I wanted." Like, he said it multiple times. Like, and if you watch the interviews, like, I can't get. Yes, he did, and I can't take it with him going on multiple interviews and acting like he doesn't know what his own movie's about. Like, did you see that one that he did with Tessa Thompson? I
saw, and I knew that was going to get hate.
Vanity Fair.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, bro, this is going to get so much hate.
Dude, come on. Like, what? You can't tell me. I'm not putting that on Marvel. I'm not putting the Doctor Strange thing on Marvel, like them cutting a bunch of Sam Raimi scenes, because it seems like Sam Raimi doesn't care about storytelling these days anymore. Like, it seems like they got the person who they wanted for the style, and then they inserted their own parts of storytelling. I don't even think Sam Raimi even cared about the scene of music, Doctor Strange fighting each other. That seemed like something that was like right out of the Disney executive brains themselves, right? But it just seems like they get. I'm just saying, I don't. Marvel, Kevin Feige, to have a really good reputation, at least from what directors say of how they have that relationship. I'm not, if it was Ike Perlmutter, if it was other people running Marvel, I'll say maybe that's the case. Maybe they're shortening runtimes because of that. But I can't help but look at Spider-Man No Way Home and say that's a 2.5 hour movie. I can't help but look at Eternals and say that's a 2 hour and 45 movie. That's a 2 hour and 45 movie.
$2 billion.
Eternals is 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm saying they're not going to cut stuff for time. They're not cutting stuff for time. They're cutting stuff for bad filmmaking, but the filmmakers are doing that. I'm not putting that on Marvel. That's my take.
I think that, like, I don't think this is anything new, right? Like, we all like Edgar Wright, Ant-Man 1, right? He pitched it, his previs got leaked. Yeah. He wrote it, and he was going to direct it, but Marvel didn't give him enough creative freedom, right? So I think this has been going on like for a while. But as far as like, a lot of people do think that Marvel is sort of rushing things and sort of churning things out. They're pointing out VFX in their shows like, this doesn't look finished, or you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I do sense a little bit of rushing and churning out content, but I still think that, I trust Marvel and I trust the studio. Most of all, Kevin Feige. Like, I trust him, and I know that we're in good hands. Yeah, and I think that
me too.
Love and Thunder, that runtime was like a Taika Waititi choice. You know what I mean? I don't think that Kevin Feige told him to.
My sources tell me.
What sources?
Look it up, bro. This is actually out there, that it was actually required by Marvel to make Love and Thunder sub 2 hours. It had to be under 2 hours, and that was never a Marvel requirement beforehand. This is brand new. Like, they never used to do this. Like you just said, like Eternals, No Way Home. These were all long ass movies, and now I'm hearing through the grapevine, through my Hollywood sources.
Through what, Cosmic Book News?
No, through like an actual source. Her name is, I'll give her a shout out, Joanna Robinson. She covers Marvel news, but she's pretty reliable. And she said Marvel required a sub 2 hour cut of Love and Thunder, and that a lot was cut out. And if you watch interviews of Christian Bale, of Tessa Thompson, of Natalie Portman, they had entire scenes of her getting her powers, Christian Bale killing other gods. There was so much cut out. Like, you can't deny that there was at least another 30 minutes of this movie in there.
Definitely.
That they cut out. And that, to me, is just like, come on. Like, that would have made a better film, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
But you can read why, certain parts were cut out. Like, for example, like, I agree. Like, I wish I saw more gore, the God Butcher, love Christian Bale.
Yeah.
But There, like for example, you know those the religious paintings on his face. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Like I didn't notice this, but towards the end, like after his daughter dies and he becomes Gore, the God Butcher, the paintings turn into scars because there was a scene where he got a knife and he cut out all the religious markings because he's anti-God now. And Marvel decided that that was too dark or too gruesome for like this movie. So yes, things were cut out. You know, a lot was cut out, but I don't know if the intention was completely to shorten the runtime. I think they wanted to manage the tone or the style of the movie or keep it kid friendly. You know what I mean?